Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of A Healthy Dose of Fran. Today I'm back to doing my why segments. Originally this one was going to be another how to make a better film segment, but I don't like those segments anymore, so I'm changing it completely to the why segment. And today I'm doing why the Percy Jackson movie sucked. So if anyone does know about the Percy Jackson film, they would, or hopefully, and if not, I'm telling you now, was based originally on the Percy Jackson books by Rick Riordan. Now this series I'd actually read after seeing the film. I saw the film on Film 4 here in the UK before reading the books. And like, I enjoyed the film, mainly just because I was quite young at the time when I did see it. So it was kind of like one of those sort of mind-numbing films that you could just watch casually and you don't really have to pay attention, because if you zone out and then come back into it, the plot's so basic that you can kind of catch up really quite easily. And my main issue that I had with this film in general is just, especially kind of coming from like a creative writing side perspective of this, my issue had always been with the characters, mainly because the characters themselves were the most inane stereotypes and cliches that you see in all adventure films, all teen films. Like, you've got the comedic relief, which was the character Grover, then you've got like the love interest or the hot girl who was Annabeth in this, and then you've got the main guy who's kind of just a bland white guy and he doesn't even have a personality, if I'm honest. Like, he's such a boring person in the film. He speaks with the same tone, he doesn't really have much of an emotional range or anything like that. It was inane. And even the villain, like the twist with the whole thing of Luke being the guy who stole the lightning bolt, which is part of the plot within this, was a huge twist in the books and should have been in the film as well. But he's such an inane villain, it doesn't kind of work. The way in which they introduce the fact that he's the villain is so boring, and it doesn't fit in with the story. It's really kind of it just doesn't work. It just kind of comes out and you're like, oh right, okay, so he's a villain, I guess, sure, whatever. Which kind of sounds like when there's like a twist villain like this, you want to be like, holy crap, this guy's the villain. I'm like, I wasn't blah 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 there. But not only did that not happen, his villainous character was so pathetic. Like, even when, like, the amount of exposition this guy does as a villain, like, he literally monologues. And considering there are so many films that take the piss out of villains going on monologues, like you've got like Megamind, even The Incredibles, that take the piss out of villains going monologuing, this guy does it, and it's just like, oh, for God's sake, just stop, just don't, just no. And again, just all these guys, everything about them is a 2D personality, and it's like the writers are like, oh, what characteristics, like, who needs a personality? Oh, how about we just put in stereotypes and cliches instead, because everyone will notice that. It's not like we're going to be copying and pasting every single film's character and just putting them into a really basic plot. And it was just disappointing, just in general. And this is even when, like, I found it disappointing even when I hadn't read the books, but I haven't read the books now as well, and that there is this huge overarching plot, and then there is the in-book plot going on at the same time. So in the books, the overarching plot is that they're trying to raise the Titans, who were the parents of the Greek gods, and it's the demigods of the children of the gods who are planning on doing this, or at least some of them are. That's the whole overarching plot, and that's completely bypassed in the first film. They did try to bring it back into the sequel that they put in. They just randomly introduced it. And yeah, it's just, there is just so many issues with this film in general. And that's just like character and plot. Like, it's just, I'm just going to go more into the plot as well. So the big issue with the plot was there really wasn't one. It was like an A to B plot. This is what we have to find. this is where we got to go to do it. There's like literally a map that basically shows that this is an A to B plot, where it's just, okay, we're here first, we've got to go here. Okay, we've gotten here, so we've got to go here. It's like playing dot to dot with a plot. And oh my god, it's the most mind-numbing thing. It's like what I was saying earlier about how you can literally kind of go away for like 15 minutes, come back, and you still understand what's going on because it's such a dot to dot plot. It's poor writing. It's just poor skills of coming up with the film. It's so bad that the author refuses to admit, or refuses to recognise the fact that these films exist. And what's even more unfortunate is like that these films can never be fixed. No one else could ever do a Percy Jackson film or a film related to the Percy Jackson series because of the copyrights that's now on them. So it can't even be fixed, which sucks like no tomorrow. But it's just, this film just always kind of does my head in when it comes to looking at it from a writer's perspective, but even from an audience perspective. Like, I know some people could enjoy this film because it is the sort of thing that you could put on a Sunday afternoon and just kind of just watch. You don't really have to be engaged with it. It's just kind of something light to watch. It'd be like watching one of the old Barbie films that they had, like the Princess and the Princess and the Pauper. Like, you could put that on. You don't really have to be watching it. It's just kind of there. It's an interesting thing to have on in the background. That's about it. That's what the Percy Jackson film is to me. Like, every now and again I've put it on Film 4, just to, like, even if it does kind of piss me off after I haven't read the books now, but I could have it on in the background while I'm trying to write, just because it's just kind of there. Like, I'm not gonna find myself distracted and getting caught up in what's happening. And it's just, it is an unfortunate thing behind, because like, it could have done so well, and it could have been a really interesting film and really interesting story if they'd actually kind of put the effort into it. This is a modern day Greek mythology retelling, kind of, and Greek mythology is an always interesting thing to talk about and kind of explore. But what this film kind of does, because considering this whole film is about demigods, which are half human, half god, children of the Greek gods, we hardly even focus on the fact that Greek mythology is involved. Like, every so often it's kind of like the writers were writing their script and thought, oh god, yeah, okay, Greek mythology, let's put in Medusa. Everyone knows Medusa, but let's kind of put her in a random place and random time where there's doesn't really make sense, just kind of happening. Oh yeah, okay, so we've got to have them say gods at one point, not god, like oh my god, have them say oh my gods, just kind of to reference the fact that this is meant to be Greek mythology. And just, it's like shoehorning in the occasional Greek mythology, whereas like with the book, Greek mythology is, you're very aware of it all the time. You're very aware of Greek mythology being involved in this story. Whereas the film, like, it starts really with the introduction of Greek mythology by having them go to a museum where the Greek gods are talked about, and like the three brothers and things like that, with Poseidon, Zeus and Hades. And it's like that was their way of trying to introduce the Greek mythology aspect. And it's not very well thought out. It's kind of like, aha, put some Greek statues and kind of a few Greek stories straight off the bat into this. And it's just lazy writing. It's just, there are so many better ways of introducing things like that, and it's kind of insulting the audience in a way. It's like we're not intelligent enough to even have kind of subtle hints, or just kind of, I really don't have the words. This film was just so bad. It could have been so good if they'd actually focused on the story, on having a plot, on actually giving these characters development. Like I was saying before, character development is a huge part of writing. If your characters if they haven't changed by the end of the film, you've screwed up. And none of these characters change, except maybe Annabeth has a little bit of a change. Like, she seems a bit of an asshole at the start of the film, and then she's kind of less of an asshole at the end because she seems to have accepted the people, well, particularly like Percy and Grover. But that's kind of it, and it's so subtle and like it's barely noticeable. It's kind of, yeah, okay, so that this has happened, but we're just going to show that with the final scene of them just randomly battling against each other in play practice. Like, that was their way of showing this change, that she was happily engaging with him at the camp. That's it. And then the other thing being Grover got his horns, but he doesn't really do anything. Like, they really screw it up in this. And they got quite a lot of good actors involved in this as well, and it's just, oh god, I feel bad for these actors. They were involved in such a bad storytelling, and so many bits to do with the film, and the characters involved. Like, you've got the Greek gods involved, run with it. Like, there's so many interesting things to do with them, and you only had them discussed on the rare occasions. Like, the second film kind of tried to be a little bit better with that. There was more of the focus on the Greek gods and Greek mythology in general, and I think it's because they realised that the first film was received poorly. I was surprised they managed to get a second film because of how badly it was received. But I think the moment that the first film failed, the second film was never going to do any better. They tried, and admittedly the second one was kind of a little bit better, but all the things that they didn't put into the first film, they suddenly shoehorned in at the very start of the second film to try and find a way to actually get a plot. And considering the second film did actually have a bit of a plot, even if it was a bit odd, it kind of didn't fit as well because they changed a few things also with that. That kind of didn't make any sense. Like, in the second film, Grover is kidnapped by Luke's men and taken to, God, I don't remember his name. The guy who's giant Cyclops, he guards the Golden Fleece. I can't remember. It begins with a P, I think. All I remember is that he's a blind Cyclops. I don't remember his name whatsoever. I'm really bad with Greek names in terms of the Greek mythology stories. But Luke's men kidnap him, take him to that island. But there's kind of no reason. Like, if they could get onto the island, why haven't they already taken the fleece? Like, what was the point in that? Whereas in kind of like the book for that, the whole thing is that Grover had gone off on his own to search for the god Pan, which is this big thing that satyrs are doing. They get their traveller's license and they're able to searcher's license, and they go and search for the god Pan. He thought he found them, but it turned out they were following the scent of the Golden Fleece, which leads to this Cyclops' island, and so Percy has to go find him. And that's how they find the Golden Fleece and things like that. And so that kind of made sense in terms of the book and how this whole adventure to go to the Sea of Monsters happens. Whereas in the film, it just kind of didn't make much sense, which is kind of how that film ended up a little bit confusing. They, of course, also shoehorn in the Titan story and Talia, daughter of Zeus story as well, which was completely bypassed in the first film as well. So it's, yeah. This film series had such potential, but the writers and the director and the person who created the story clearly didn't care enough to actually put any effort in its creation, which is incredibly unfortunate, because I think if they had actually done this correctly and they'd gone with how the book was written, if they'd gone with how the story flowed and actually stuck to kind of who the characters are and the way in which they change, and possibly also have them actually at the correct age instead of aging them up for no particular reason, I think this film series could have turned into like the next Harry Potter series. It would have spanned multiple films, could have gotten a couple of sequels with the follow-up series Heroes of Olympus to Percy Jackson, and it could have done so well. But they just, clearly didn't seem to care about the effort that could go into making this film and the story and everything else behind it. I think they were just trying to find a way to make money by going off the background of this film was based on this book series, which was incredibly popular. Similar to The Last Airbender, which is a previous video that I've done, which I'll link here at the end or now if I can. But yeah, it's just genuinely unfortunate. I think if they had put the effort in, not only would they would have made so much more money, these films wouldn't be known as the films that shall not be named. Similar also to The Last Airbender, which is a film that shall never be named or talked about. Its existence is unknown to us all because it is a sham, similar to the Percy Jackson films. Which again is just unfortunate because it could have been a success. So Fox, you done messed up. And that is why the Percy Jackson movie sucked. As always guys, thank you so much for watching my video and supporting my channel. If you're not already subscribed, go to that button down below or the one that'll be popping up here on the screen. If you want to watch any of my past videos, they'll be coming up here as suggestions. If you don't want to see this ugly mug, go down to the description box below where you'll find my Instagram and my blog. Thank you again for watching this video, and I'll see you guys next time.